The podcast descended into bad taste quickly by focusing on the beauty routine of recently widowed Erika Kirk. The nasty insults continued without a single acknowledgement of Kirk's tragic widowhood. A nonpartisan news outlet does not dissect the women of MAGA, the appearance of MAGA women, and compare them to the Confederacy. That's wild. We're going to check in with NPR, National Public Radio, which of course is doing amazing. And it's doing the kind of wonderful journalism, nonpartisan, serious, thoughtful, nuanced reporting that makes it such a shame that the mean, evil, bad Trump administration and Republicans tried to defund it. Just kidding. They're proving him right and pushing this in kind of insane, like genuinely beyond parody, biased coverage that just dispenses with any fiction left that they were some sort of objective news outlet. And I've always said it's fine to be a left-wing news outlet. That's allowed, but you just shouldn't get taxpayer money for doing it. And they always did that thing where they're like, they barely get any taxpayer money, but also how dare you pass a bill to defund them? That's like, then it shouldn't matter, babe. Like, again, we come back to this. That's one of the most maddening things that progressives will sometimes do is insist something isn't happening, but also get extremely mad if you just try to pass a law that says it can't happen. Those two things don't go together. I don't know how to explain. But anyway, NPR decided to prove Trump right that they should not be funded as some sort of nonpartisan media via taxpayers, and instead should have to fund themselves if they're going to just be a left-wing news outlet by running a pretty gross piece about Erika Kirk. So here's the headline from Newsbusters, which is a conservative media watchdog, but it's just transcripts. It's just receipts of the NPR segment. NPR sexist code switch show mocks Erika Kirk. Other Trump women drags in the Confederacy. Yes, guys. They actually, and I listened to this segment, they actually brought in the Confederacy, to their conversation of Republican women and Erika Kirk's appearances, which is just so funny to me because, listen, I'm not a pearl clutcher, so, I can laugh at jokes about, Republican women makeup or whatever, but ultimately, feminists and liberal media outlets would be the first to say that it's, proof of patriarchy that women in politics always get their appearance dissected, and why are they asking this female politician about her outfit, and that's so offensive and all this stuff. And then the second it's Republican women, they're doing the same thing times 10. It's kind of hilarious. So here's the article from Newsbusters, Clay Waters. National Public Radio recently aired two frankly sexist episodes of its race-based podcast Code Switch, hosted by B.A. Parker and Gene Demby. The April 1st edition was titled, quote, Mar-a-Lago Face, MAGA's Aesthetic Loyalty Test. He writes, anti-Trump sexism is acceptable in quote-unquote public radio. That really is remarkable. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Mar-a-Lago face isn't a thing. It kind of is, right? The same plastic surgery that certain women in the MAGA movement get, the certain kind of spray tan, orange tint makeup that people will wear. And that's all well and fine. But a nonpartisan news outlet does not dissect the women of MAGA, the appearance of MAGA women, and compare them to the Confederacy. That's wild. That is obviously biased and inappropriate. But here's the transcript from the podcast. The host says, so Gene, you've probably noticed that a lot of people in Trump world, particularly the women, but not just the women, have a certain look. To which this guest replies, a dramatic sort of makeup, heavy on the eyeliner. Almost all of them have this long flowing hair, because that's so weird for a woman to have. The outfits tend to be very close to the body. And that's the teaser. And then it says, I spoke to the journalist NIO from Mother Jones, and she wrote an article called, quote unquote, In Your Face, The Brutal Aesthetics of MAGA. And the internet has described this aesthetic as Mar-a-Lago face. I just find it so funny that suddenly it's fine to dissect the appearances of women in politics and ridicule them when these same people would have said that's horrific sexism 5 minutes ago. It is remarkable how quickly the standards can change. Anyway, here's more from Newsbusters. The podcast descended into bad taste quickly by focusing on the beauty routine of recently widowed Erika Kirk, including, quote, heavy eye makeup, that dark smoky eye with the long blonde hair, Parker says, and I remember she was crying with her like very blue eyes and she's wiping her tears away and like so much jewelry on the hand as she was wiping her tears. And I was like, oh, this is a lot happening in this image. This is Newsbusters again. The nasty insults continued without a single acknowledgement of Kirk's tragic widowhood. That's actually remarkable that in this segment they never said like, as we dissect Erika Kirk and mock her appearance for like no discernible news value or reason, we should at least know how horrible it is what happened to Charlie Kirk, and our heart goes out to her here at NPR and her family and her kid. It's like very telling they don't even bother to pretend to do that. No, I find that telling. Here's more from the transcript. You know what comes to mind? I don't know if you saw the Washington Post story about the AI generated ideal like MAGA woman, but she looks like essentially a photocopy, in my opinion, of Erika Kirk. Oh my goodness. And so here's where things get even more obnoxious. In another edition, where they're still talking about MAGA women's appearances, they compared it to the Confederacy. Because, of course, you can't, we can just never have normal conversations without people invoking the Holocaust, slavery, the Confederacy. Ay, Dios mío. Here's more from Newsbusters. The April 4th edition of Code Switch followed up with a different author, Elizabeth Bronwyn Boyd, and an even more provocative premise. From the Confederacy to the White House, how Southern beauty traditions went MAGA. Here's the quote from the guest. The whole idea of MAGA, Make America Great Again, is based on nostalgia for something that never was. Because when were we great? Was it during the removal of the first Americans? Was it when we held human beings in bondage? This is just remarkable to me because, listen, I don't consider myself MAGA. I've never voted for Trump. But just in the spirit of intellectual honesty and charity, I understand that when people say make America great again, or they harken back to the good old days, they're not, in fact, pining for the return of slavery. They don't think the good old days were when Black people were forced as slaves to pick cotton. And it's like, you just have to. Do you not know any MAGA people? Do you have zero interaction with different worldviews? Do you just live in a bubble? Obviously, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Because if you did, you'd know that by the good old days, some of them mean the 90s, some of them mean Reagan, but none of them mean freaking the Confederacy. And it's like, how is this a real thing? Real journalists are paid to do. And yet, here's the thing, it's not illegal to be dumb. So if they want to have this podcast, if they want to mock MAGA women and make hysterical comparisons and dissect Erika Kirk's appearance for no reason, at least they're not going Candace Owens and accusing Erika of killing her husband for Israel or something, with Brigitte's penis somehow involved. But I still think that's a thing to do, just morally, journalistically, ethically. I think that's incredibly sus. But it's not illegal to not be a great person and to do shoddy or vapid or hypocritical work. But the idea that it was ever normalized or the status quo, that this kind of journalistic left-wing, inherently left-wing project was viewed as some sort of nonpartisan media and funded with tax dollars is so, so crazy. And ironically enough, is deeply emblematic of the exact, and whether you agree with the solution, and I don't support Trump, don't support MAGA, all this stuff. You guys, if you're regular viewers, you know where I come from politically is the center right, politically homeless, independent tribe. But it is exactly this kind of out of touch, elitist, progressive cultural grip on the culture and the media and the discourse that MAGA was kind of a revolt against. And yet they keep just doubling down on it and really have learned nothing. I want to show you just while we're on this topic, this one didn't feel worthy of its own segment, but it's just kind of funny how ridiculous it is. I'm actually astounded that they're still doing this stuff unironically. So there was, and this is an instance where I will give Trump credit. They did a pretty heroic rescue mission to rescue 2 downed pilots in Iran. And of course that was a whole thing, but whatever you think of the war, I'm so glad that they were rescued, and I will give credit to the Trump administration for executing a heroic rescue mission because I just try to be fair. MSNBC, however, or I guess I should say MS now. I don't want to use the wrong pronouns because they changed their name or whatever. They decided to scold Pete Hegseth for saying the phrase, I can't believe this is real and not AI. They scolded him for saying "no man left behind" instead of no man, woman, or non-binary person. Like, I don't know what they wanted him to say, but they're like, a woman. It could have been it wasn't a woman, and also like man in this context is just generic, and no one. Oh my! I'm gonna play this clip because if I keep yapping, I'll just talk myself out of discussing this. It's so stupid. Let's watch.
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
We leave no man behind.
That is, of course, the old-school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes.
Oh my God.
General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
Guys, why did they make me defend I don't like Pete Hegseth. I don't think he's a good Secretary of Defense / War. And yet I'm going to defend him here that this is crazy. Obviously, when he says no man left behind, he is not under the impression that it couldn't be a woman, because obviously he knows the armed services include both men and women. And that's like, you're really nitpicking the word choice and phraseology for microaggressions while America is at war. Just, he should have said no one left behind instead of no man left behind. It's like, okay, this is the whole like mankind or history. Because yeah, really, when you say mankind, people have no idea that includes females as well as males. People are not I don't think people are geniuses. Okay. Like I think society in some ways is incredibly ignorant, but they're not that dumb. And when you constantly like read sexism and victimhood into everything, it is exhausting and highly counterproductive, because there's like actual sexism we need to talk about right now, like crazy far right people who want to take women's right to vote away. And you're out here saying he needs to say no person left behind, not no man left behind. Give me a frickin' break. It's this exact kind of thing that has made so many people view legacy media institutions and establishment media with immense disdain and disgust and distrust, and rightly so. And yet they'll wonder, why are ratings so much lower than other networks? Why is it people going to YouTube and to independent commentators? You burn your credibility with this kind of thing. And it's a shame, because I think we need a credible mainstream media. And I think the independent media ecosystem has its own problems and has its own serious flaws and shortcomings. But when you see this kind of thing, it's pretty easy to remember why people are abandoning mainstream media en masse. That's just my take on it all, guys. But you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Hit the like button. Do consider becoming a channel member to support my content if you can. And that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk again real soon.